Welcome, dear listeners, to another amazing podcast by Yesusers. I'm your host, Avinash, and today we have an extraordinary guest with us, the visionary founder and CEO of PayAid Payments, Alka Mehta. We will delve into Alka's remarkable journey, exploring the inception of PayAid Payments, uncovering the challenges and triumphs that paved the way for this groundbreaking digital payment solution. To kick off, Alka, could you start by giving a brief background of yourself to the listeners who don't know anything about you?
Yeah, sure. Happy to do that. Hi, everyone. My name is Alka, and I come with an experience of almost 34 years, having worked for various organizations. I started my career way back in 90s, where I worked for companies like Kirloskar. I was part of the team that opened the first McDonald's store in Delhi.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Then I went back to Bangalore, worked for a bit in an exhibition design company, and then joined the bank.
Right.
I joined one of India's largest private sector banks, HDFC Bank, in 2002. And they were my employers up until 2021, January, actually. And Feb 21 is when I started PayAid. It's going to be almost 3 years now. We're already on the 27th of January.
Right.
So being at my earlier employer's place taught me a lot. It taught me first basics of finance and accounting, because I'm a life science student. I'm not somebody who's done a BCom or an MBA. But I did have that inclination to learn, and that continues. I feel like I'm one of those people who's a student for life. So HDFC Bank took me, groomed me, trained me on payments. So I have worked across all facets of payments, including issuance and acquiring of transactions, worked closely with the risk team, the policy team, the operations team. So I know very well what works, what does a fintech need or a TSP need when they're working on something like what I am trying to build.
Wow. So for the viewers who don't understand, what does a TSP means?
A technology service provider.
Okay.
We are a payment gateway platform. So what PayAid does is it connects online businesses to multiple payment gateways. It does the routing of transactions on their behalf, increases their sales by 30%, and helps with the reconciliation process. We don't take money off the merchant at any point of time into our account.
Right.
We are more of a technology service provider, and we are not actually a payment gateway. We are a payment gateway platform provider.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, that's really interesting. So, we will delve into what PayAid does. But, before that, I wanted to touch upon the fact that, you had substantial experience, close to like 25, 27 years of experience before doing a startup. In the startup culture that we have these days, we don't see that kind of a profile. So what are your 2 cents on this?
Well, I always wanted to do something, but there were a lot of responsibilities that I had. I'm a single parent, mother of 2 daughters. Now, of course, my girls are all grown up. They are young ladies. I was also taking care of my dad. So it was a little difficult to, when you are the single breadwinner in the family, it's very difficult to say, nahi, mere ko to mera dream hi follow karna hai. You have to be practical sometimes. The time I got a chance to say, okay, now my responsibilities are kind of over, I can probably kind of work on something that I want. That's when I started off with PayAid.
Wow. Awesome. So in your opinion, people should start entrepreneurship later than earlier. Or like given what
reasons for this. In my case, it was the fact that I had responsibilities, but I do believe that when you have some amount of work experience, then you understand how things are taken in the world today. You understand how to interact with other corporates, with other customers. Everyone's not really born with an entrepreneurial mind. That entrepreneurial mindset that, in India we say, Marwadi hai, Gujarati hai, Sindhi hai, to jarur businessman hoega. But down south, it's not so.
Right.
Right? You down south where you don't have, except for the people who have moved from the north and settled in south and are managing some of the businesses. But I do believe that no amount of training at an MBA college or anything can give you the kind of an experience or an exposure that an actual work or a job it gives you on hands-on experience. And so I do believe that, I see a lot of youngsters who are opting to be entrepreneurs, and it's all good. It's really nice. But then some of them get stuck at some point or the other. Some of them get taken advantage of because you have so many of these people trying to teach you how to be an entrepreneur.
Right. And sometimes those advice are right.
The charges for teaching you how to be an entrepreneur are quite hefty. I have to add here.
Right.
There are very few organizations that are willing to impart this knowledge on entrepreneurship or how to successfully run a business free of cost. There are literally a handful of them.
Right. I couldn't agree more. I have had similar experiences in past, but that brings us to an interesting topic because we noticed that you have successfully navigated through some of the most prestigious startup programs. So like we have seen that you're part of Stanford Seed Spark cohort, you are part of T Angel cohort, and you have been also part of Goldman Sachs 10K cohort, which is hosted by IIM Bangalore, if I'm correct, and NSRCEL. So out of these three, which one did you like the most and what was your experience there?
So yes, I apart from these, I have also been part of several other cohorts, but these three, you just happened to mention their names, and these three are the closest to my heart. And I'll tell you why. Each of them taught me a different side or different aspect of how my business should take off. And I cannot say that any one of them is, the one that I like the most.
Right, obviously.
Each of them have their, pros and cons. Stanford Seed Spark program is a paid program, but it's not a very hefty fees because in my case, TAI had nominated me. That's the TAI Hyderabad chapter. And it was a good learning. We got a lot of insights from professors at the Stanford University. We got to work with a lot of our counterpart, other cohort members who are also founders. So we got a fresh new perspective from an outsider's point of view when I took part in the Stanford Seed Spark program. Coming to T Angel program that is run by T Hub, I'm not sure whether you're aware. T Hub is India's largest incubation center, home to more than 20,000 startups. The facilities that they have, the kind of programs that they have are remarkable. There is a hefty fees to get to be a part of the T Angel cohort, but they have people who come in and talk to you who are actually dealing with these kind of issues that startups face on a day-to-day basis. You have a legal opinion guy, you have a finance guy, you have people from VCs who come in and talk, telling you that what is it that a VC is looking for when they're funding a startup.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Fortunately for me, because I am based out of Hyderabad, the Angel cohort was a really nice thing because I didn't have to travel out of town for this, right?
How about your experience at Goldman Sachs 10K cohort?
Women Entrepreneur program is something that they have brought out for women entrepreneurs. This is a program where they are doing income, along with IIM Bangalore, NSRCEL, and we don't have to pay a penny for it.
Right.
Trust me, going to an IIM and studying without having to pay anything from your pocket is itself a very, very big thing for me. Going to an IIM was a dream that I had way back when I was a kid. Couldn't afford it. And when I could afford it, I couldn't afford to leave my job and sit down to study. So it's come at the right time for me, I guess. And their programs are also marvelous. The faculty is so hands-on. I mean, you wouldn't expect faculty to actually know what's happening with startups. They take time to go spend time with the startups, understand what startups are doing, and then add it into their, knowledge sharing sessions.
Okay.
The program was a 3-month program where 3 weeks was on online classes on a weekly basis. And then 1 week in the month, you go switch off your phone, get into the classroom and actually study.
Right. Wow.
Back to college. And I guess that's why I'm extremely fond of that program. I've just concluded the basic level of finance for growth, also by IIM Bangalore, NSR Cell and Goldman Sachs, which is going to help us in actually getting our funding. That's what's been promised, that at the end of the advanced course, which starts next week, we will be able to pitch to VC and actually get funding. And I'm sure you agree with me, Avi, that getting funding is extremely important for a startup.
Right.
Just getting the money, it's a validation that, yes, what I'm building is actually good.
Right. Ontarian opinion on this issue, we'll probably discuss that later. But the one question that I really want to ask you, because you are a person who have been part of some paid entrepreneurship programs and some which doesn't charge you any money or take some equity for that matter. Because a lot of young entrepreneurs come to me and ask this question, right? And also understand that these guys don't have a lot of money. So.
Correct.
What would be your thoughts, whether somebody should pursue a paid program or should they avoid it, and it's better to invest that money in their own startup?
So my 2 cents on this is get yourself a work experience of at least 3 to 4 years. You will find at least one good human being in the company that you're working for. If you're skipping companies, then in the 2 or 3 companies that you have worked for, you will find one good mentor at least.
Right.
Go back to every time.
When pick their brains. Don't spend your money on the paid startup program.
Paid startup programs, I do believe they have a lot of hype. At the end of the demo day, you're not actually pitching to get funded. Because let's be honest, 15 minutes is what a startup is given, out of which 7 minutes is the actual presentation and the balance 8-9 minutes is Q&A. No VC is going to put even 1 single rupee in your business during those 7 minutes or 15 minutes. I'm not sure whether you heard of them, a company called WSC in Noida, that there will be 10,000 investors and they're going to have a lot of VC funds and etc. And there are people who went there. I was also one of those idiots who went there. They had no investors whatsoever. And that's the day I realized that this doesn't work this way. We are expecting investors to put in money. Nobody's going to just look at our face and put in money immediately.
Right. I understand your point on like people who are charging for money, but correct me if I'm wrong, you're not challenging the concept of the demo day, right? Because YC and Alka Mehta, for instance,
challenging me because the demo day is very, very important. So all these programs teach you what to pitch, how to pitch, where to pitch, the actual storytelling about your company. Right. You may be a fantastic salesperson, but you may not know how to tell your story. Please expecting you to become a Shakespeare or a William Wordsworth overnight. To at least be able to tell your story. Now, when you come to this, telling your story also, there are people who are willing to charge you about 5 to 6 lakhs and take a stake in, a equity stake in your company to help you build a story.
Yeah, I have encountered with such people. Yeah.
So in IIM Bangalore, who sat with me continuously 3 weeks in a row, 1-hour session, made sure that I got my story right. And you know what she told me at the end of it all was, Alka, this is your story. I have only helped you say it out better. Put extra words that you didn't need to use and made you practice on it. I asked her, ma'am, what is it that I can do for you? Can I offer you a seat on the board? Because I was overwhelmed at somebody wanting to help me free of cost. She told me, I don't need anything. I have a good salary from IIM. They pay me well. I have a vehicle. I have a very good life. I don't want to get into all these both things. You want to pick my brains, you call me and you pick my brains. Don't get me involved in your company. I don't want anything.
Absolutely, right. I think that's that's what my experience has been. But obviously, there are always an exception. I completely agree with your thoughts, and thanks a lot for sharing. I'm sure, especially for the young entrepreneurs who haven't had experience like you, would be able to benefit from, the lessons that you have learned. So now let's discuss about PayAid, right? So, what inspired you to create PayAid, and what specific problem you were aiming to solve with this innovative product?
So the specific problem that I'm aiming to solve is the problem of transaction failures. Did you know that most online businesses are able to only sell up to 60% of their actual transactions online? And this is primarily because either the payment gateway doesn't offer the mode of payment that is required by the end customer, or because the payment gateway does go down, right? Even India's largest payment gateways do go down. There is a particular mode of payment, like say an EMI or a buy now pay later scheme, which is only available for the large enterprise clients, the Amazons and the Flipkarts, which is not available for mid-sized segment merchants.
Okay.
These are the few challenges that I'm trying to solve. It started, December 2020, my employer had certain issues with the server. Transactions were not going through at all. This happened for almost a week, 10 days. The merchants that I was handling at that point of time were the large strategic accounts, and the merchants yelled at me. I was lucky I'm a woman, I didn't get abused, but I did hear a lot of harsh words. And the merchants were like, boss, तुम्हारा चेहरा देख के तो तुम्हारे को धंधा दे रहे हैं तुम्हारे बैंक को. हमारा transactions होना मांगता है. You route our transactions elsewhere. And as a banker, you can't. But as a technology service provider, you very well can.
Okay.
And that's how, I thought about it. There were supposed to be 4 of us at that point of time who said, okay, let's start this. Let's do this. I spent, Feb, we actually started. I did give in my papers, and I obviously didn't have time to work on anything until the last day of work at my employer. I spent the whole of Feb, March, April getting loose ends tied up, starting on the work, talking to various merchants, asking them, you want to sell online? What is it that you want? What are the problems that you face when you're selling online? And that's how PayAid started.
Wow. No, that's really interesting. What's your situation around co-founders? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm very lucky. I have a co-founder. Like I told you, there were supposed to be 4 of us, and then 2 of them backed out due to personal reasons. My current co-founder, Funny, stood by my side and said, okay, I have that faith in you. I will take that leap of faith. And I was very lucky. There are times when we fight like nursery kids even today. And there are times when I know that he's got my back and I've got his back. That is extremely important. See, it can be very, very challenging and daunting to be a single founder company, a OPC or a proprietor. Now, if you're looking for funding anyways, being a OPC or a proprietor or a partner doesn't really make sense. The legal entity itself has to be a private limited company so that you're able to give some portion of the stake away. When you have a co-founder, always select a co-founder who's complementing your skills and not got the same skill sets as you. Like if you are extremely good at sales and you're good at numbers and you're good at making presentations, get somebody who's going to back you up with the marketing activities or the tech part of it, or will take care of the rest of the headache and say, Alka, tu ja bech. Because otherwise, you're going to stretch yourself very thin. I think 3 to 4 founders is a good combination if you're able to find 3 other people who are like-minded and yet have different skill sets, which are complementing each other. Well, I think that is the best option available. Beyond 4, I don't think मेरे को तो बिल्कुल नहीं जमेगा कभी भी, simply because it's very difficult to make more than 3 people listen to you at one point of time. There are always going to be arguments and disagreements, and then somewhere along the line, I've seen this in a lot of companies, somewhere along the line it becomes about personal stuff and ego issues, and it's no longer about the company anymore. As long as your co-founder and you can understand that kuch bhi ho jaye, company is first, and have a very good relationship. However, having said this, I will also say that you should have at least a friend or a confidant outside of your co-founder group, because there are some times when you have to bitch about your co-founder also, na? So you need a shoulder to cry on.
Right.
Hey, we may shy away from it and say, नहीं, हमारा तो ऐसे नहीं होता, हम तो best of friends हैं.
Right.
Shoulder on if you have a friend who you can confide in, who can help boost your morale, because being an entrepreneur is a pretty lonesome journey. It's a pretty hurtful journey. You face a lot of rejection. There are chances that you might go into depression. There are chances that you might having doubts on yourself, on your abilities, on the company's abilities. It's very important to be, if not surrounded, and at least have a close-knit circle of friends who remind you how good you are, to help boost your morale.
Yeah.
Sorry, thing, and I just continued going. Tell me.
Right. So wanted to ask, I know it's a little cliche, but how was, as a woman, what are the, prejudices that you faced as a CEO of?
Well, surprising you should ask this. Okay. Fact is that in India, glass ceilings exist, glass walls exist. People don't believe that a woman is actually capable of doing something to the T. People do believe that they're probably going to go away. I've been asked, Acha, you want funding? What's your family background? And then I say, I have 2 daughters and they're in Australia. Acha, to aap Australia ka move, they are working there. They have their lives there. I am not going to go tag on and say, okay, I took care of you in your childhood. Now you take care of me.
Right. But that's the thing. They kind of presuppose because you are a mother, so you would like to be close.
Question you would ask men? No. Nobody's going to ask a man, oh, when are you going to go to Australia? They say, oh, I just visited last month.
Yeah. So what's in your opinion, we should do about it? The situation is definitely grim. What is the solution in your opinion to solve this problem?
There is no solution. The solution will probably come maybe, just maybe, by the time around when my great-grandkids are my age, or maybe your age. There's a lot of mind opening that has to happen. See, even when I sit in for pitches, we pitch to a lot of angel funds. They're happy to discuss certain parts of the business. The minute it comes to numbers, they will not be very comfortable discussing it with me. They will prefer to discuss it with my co-founder. And there are times when my co-founder has said, no, numbers, you talk to Alka. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they ghost on you sometimes. Sometimes they say, no, it's not happening. Basically, funding you will die.
Right. Absolutely. I can just apologize on behalf of the men.
I think it's more of a disbelief that we as a society have in the capabilities of a woman. Because let's face it, we are living in a patriarchal society. We do have rules of do's and don'ts for a woman. And any person trying to break those rules or stay away from the norm is not looked at nicely. Until that entire chain breaks, or there is a little more education in that chain, it's difficult for this whole thing to change.
I can understand.
It's like this, Avi. If I have to travel anywhere in the country, I will worry about, what time am I going to reach? And where am I going to stay in the hotel? Is the hotel room safe? What are the ratings of the hotel? What is the review of the hotel? I will try to be back at a reasonable time in my head, which is reasonable, which may not be reasonable in other people's minds, but at least in mine. Generally keep myself safe. And why is that? Because some parents somewhere in the world forgot to teach their boys how to behave with women. Will you think about all this, Avi, or will you just say, hey, I've got a batchmate here, let me go party. जब मेरा मन है, मैं करूँगा जो मुझे करना है. टैक्सी नहीं मिली तो ऑटो ले लेंगे, ऑटो मिला तो रैपिडो ले लेंगे, आ जाएंगे कैसे भी वापस होटल. You think twice about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, patriarchal society.
Yeah. And did your experience differ when you were dealing with the Western counterparts vis-a-vis the Indian counterparts in terms of investors?
So I haven't gone outside India to look for funds. And I think that is where I should go. Maybe look at VC funds rather than angel funds or family fund kind of people. Probably my experiences with them will be a little different. I don't know.
Right. No, completely understand. And was there any strategic reason behind like sticking to the Indian investors? Because no, payment gateways or I'm so sorry, payment technology companies has been a really hot topic in the Western investor circles. So, any specific reason why you haven't approached foreign investors?
Well, one is that there is a lot of regulations around bringing in funds from outside into India. There's an approval that has to be taken and all of that. And my CA advised me against it initially.
No, it's a lot of plans on FDI. On record, I'm willing to say that's not a good advice from your CA. So, yeah, definitely we can have a discussion later.
So, gives me sound advice.
Compliance is a pain in the ass, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. They should never affect strategic decisions. Who is the best investor for our startup? Is it an Indian investor or is it a foreign investor? Once we have a clarity on that, then the compliances can be taken care of. That's why we pay so much money to lawyers and CAs, right? But yeah, so definitely this is something we can have a discussion on.
Now is a really good guy, a good company. In fact, they also do my entire, work, back-end work of handling my accounting books and everything.
So yeah, this brings us to a very interesting topic, and this is something I like to ask in all of our podcasts. Is that what are some of the legal and accounting challenges that you faced, and especially in the early part of your journey, considering you had such a long tenure with SDFC, where you got to learn different aspects firsthand.
To be honest, there are not too many challenges. I knew right from day one that I will eventually end up taking in funding, right? I think legal compliances issues I really didn't have. I had good lawyers to help support me in terms of getting our agreements in order, etc. I knew a lot of bookkeeping myself because when you work with a bank like HDFC Bank, pakka ban jate ho tum documentation mein. To be honest, no, I did not face any challenges as such. I do know that some of the companies have major challenges when it comes to the legalese and all of that. And Fanny and I were right very clear from day one. We entered to a proper founder agreement almost about 8 or 9 months after we started. We knew from day one what each of us is going to do. There was a sheet of paper and there were both our names on top and the tasks that we're going to do with a unwritten this thing that I'm not going to interfere in what he's doing. He's not going to interfere in what I'm doing. But there can be a lot of other challenges. Like if you don't know what kind of a company to form, you don't know when you have to file what. Sometimes you don't know that a particular return has to be filed on a particular day of a month or a quarter. Agreements that you get into now, in my case, we are currently integrated with 18 payment gateways and banks. One wrong clause in those agreements and, our entire company could get wiped out. So all of those things, I was lucky. I knew a little stuff. But for the new entrepreneurs, my request would be that please get yourself a good lawyer who knows the law of the land and who will help you comply with it and who will ensure that, you're not goofing up on any of the compliance or regulatory issues.
And this is the same advice I give to a lot of young entrepreneurs. But the question they ask me, how do I understand whether he or she is a good lawyer?
If I have to answer that question, there are some of these lawyers who are extremely senior, who are really good, who also do a lot of pro bono work. They don't try to make money off a startup who is struggling and crawling. They make their money out of other cases. Unfortunately, lawyers are not supposed to advertise themselves, just like CAs are not supposed to advertise themselves as well, right? CAs, company secretaries, lawyers. And because they're not able to advertise themselves, not too many people know who is a good lawyer who does pro bono work. So I don't know, maybe you should probably think of a startup like that, where a startup where you have lawyers who are doing pro bono work or work for a lower cost, which is affordable to the startups, will make your money elsewhere. You should think of that. You can become an aggregator of lawyers.
To be fair, I've been thinking on something along those lines for quite some time now. One of the starking things that I saw in Silicon Valley vis-a-vis, like, Delhi or Bangalore, is that we are not supporting our young startups as much as we should be. So when I incorporated a company in the US, I was able to get lawyers who were willing to do it for free, as long as I give them promise that once I will be raising my price round, where my startup has been valued for some money, they would be, associated with that, and they would be actually charging some money along those lines. And here in India, I hardly see any lawyers doing it. So yeah, definitely, there's a lot of things that can be done on this front at least. And I've been thinking of a couple of ideas how to actually implement this. Let's see how things turn out. So yeah, now I think
I'll be
right, absolutely. I completely noted your support on that front. So yeah, now let's get back to PayAid. So is there something and then unique the features that this offers or the benefit that it offers to its customers that you feel like nobody else is offering right now?
I will be lying if I say that I'm the first of my kind and nobody has done this business ever before, because that would be a complete lie. No, there is another company that does it in Europe. It's a company called Adyen. One day, I hope that PayAid is big enough for Adyen to sit up and take notice of us and probably, either invest in us or buy us out. We can be Adyen's arm in India for them to work. So Home is another company called JustPay who works only in the niche segments and niche locations. They work primarily with the large enterprise accounts like an Amazon or a Flipkart or a Book My Show, etc. The difference between any of the other aggregators and us is the fact that when you look at another large aggregator like say a PayU or a Razorpay or a ISG, etc., if their server's down, they're not going to be routing transactions to their competition. They're agnostic. For us, we care about only one thing, which is success of the transaction that's happening. Route transactions to the most successful payment gateway. So this is one thing that we are, different when compared to any of the other payment gateways. We have partnered with about 18 aggregators and banks, which means that we are able to help a business go online within 5 working days at the most, which is a little difficult for most other aggregators. The other thing that sets us apart is the fact that we are working as a channel partner of sorts to the payment gateways. So they don't see us as a competition. Of course, the fact that I take the documents from the merchant, I do all the running around, getting the merchant IDs, plugging it onto my platform and telling the merchant, hey, you can start transactions. All you need to do now is integrate your website to my payment gateway. For the small businesses, the mid-sized businesses who have more of a offline or a brick and mortar presence, we also have a do-it-yourself website builder.
Okay, that's interesting.
This website builder is something that, it actually came about because I'm part of one of the cohorts where it's more of a women entrepreneur-led cohort or incubation center, AIC Elite V Hub. Incidentally, that's also the place where we got our funding from the Government of India, Startup India Seed Fund Scheme.
Wow.
A lot of women entrepreneurs wanted to go online, but they didn't know how. We said, okay, we'll help you build your own website. So we do it at, almost 1/10 of the cost of what the conventional platforms today charge. And you come in with your logo, your product pictures, your product specifications and the price. You walk out 4 hours later with a website fully built.
Wow. Will they have their own custom domain or they will be on PayAid's domain?
They will be on PayAid's domain, but we can also point it to their custom domain.
Okay.
For one of our customers who's an organic farmer from Hubli, he insisted on having his own domain. So we said, okay, fine. Now you've already paid for it. You've done everything. We'll point it to that.
Imagine that, I'm a small business owner. How much you will charge me for developing my website?
3,000 rupees per annum.
3,000 rupees per annum, right? And will there be any restrictions on the payment gateways I can use later on?
See, currently, I would only obviously want to offer our platform. But since we are integrated with 18 payment gateways, you have enough choice. If you say that, no, Alka, मेरे को तो ये transactions मेरे payment gateway अच्छा लगता है क्योंकि वहाँ पे लोग बहुत अच्छे हैं. So I will say, okay, fine, I will route it there. But if their transactions, success rate is going down, then I will also make sure that, after taking confirmation from you, I will also get 2-3 other aggregators or banks, MIDs, which I will plug on. And so that your fallback transactions don't fail.
So Alka, what is your monetization model?
So we charge a one-time integration fees from the merchants.
Okay. And how much is that?
It's very low, actually, compared to what other banks or other aggregators charge you.
Right.
The merchant doesn't have to pay anything extra to us, and they get 30% of their transactions more successful.
Right. Absolutely. So one of the problems that I faced, initially when I was started my business in 2015 was that, at that time we didn't have incorporated a company. So I was running it as a partnership or a sole proprietorship. What are you offering to this kind of a segment who don't have a legal entity per se?
See, even if it's illegal now in India, GST is mandatory.
Well, it depends upon the sector, right? Imagine I'm offering my services or my product. If it is the revenue is below 20 lakh rupees, it's not mandatory for me to register for GST.
Correct. But you will anyways apply at least for a PAN number in the name of the company. Some kind of a proof. Now, if you are, say, a trader, you will have to give your GST number, your PAN number to your vendor.
Right.
And you will also have to give it to your end customer.
Right.
To your vendor, you don't get the GST input tax credit.
Right.
Now, you could get fined the minute you go above 20 lakhs. And that's it. Most of the shops and establishments do have some kind of a registration or the other. Either they have Udyam Aadhaar, and this is even for those proprietary concerns, right? So either they have Udyam Aadhaar. Most of the startups will apply for their DPIIT if they are an IT company. In the state that they exist, there will be an office that they will register eventually. Your Shop and Establishment Act or that certificate can also serve as a document. And if you go to open a current account in a bank, as a proprietor, you can open a current account in your name.
Okay, yeah, that's true. But
that to lagta hai.
Right. But see, giving a sole proprietor on his personal PAN card, waiting him to, go for a Stop and Establishment Act or mandating him to go for GST, right? Imagine this, when I started, I was just one person sitting in my home building a legal education platform. I had of these. So the short answer is you won't be able to help me in that case, right?
You would have some registration proof, some proof that your entity exists because you are getting into a legal agreement with a bank. We are entering into that legal agreement on your behalf with a bank. So if you're taking it as a proprietor also, it is all right. You have to have a current account. And anyways, to open a current account, जो भी documents bank लेगा, वही documents हम भी लेंगे payment gateway के लिए.
Right.
Not just pay it. If you don't want to do it legally, no payment gateway will allow you to sell online.
No, that's actually not true because that's where, as a sole proprietorship, you can actually register with a lot of companies. There are a couple of platforms which actually...
Please name two.
Obviously. PayMojo allows you to register as a sole proprietor. I think PayU or PayU, they used to allow it as a sole proprietor.
Used to.
So the problem statement, imagine I'm a software developer working from home and I earn 10 to 15 lakh rupees per year. And why I shouldn't be able to receive payment online when I can do it?
What does they want? The bank wants proof that you are receiving payments for a legal sale of product or service. Any of the follow this. This is a guideline that RBI has given. It's a guideline called Know Your Customer.
Right.
And therefore, because everybody wants to follow the RBI guideline of Know Your Customer, without certain documentation, they will not get.
Right.
In any case, no payment gateway, whether it's a InstaMojo or a Cash Free or a Free Charge or PayU or Razorpay, and these are all my partners that I work with.
Right.
Them will give a payment gateway to a company that does not have a current account. Current account is the documents that I need for getting a payment gateway for you.
Right. So see, that's the thing. I'll go and research on that because this is something that has always bothered me a lot as a government.
Do you have a payment gateway?
Gateway.
Great.
Right.
Documents for it.
Yeah, but see, I also it kind of like really frustrates me in a way that see, I understand the government's intention to keep the transactions legal and for all that matter, like that everything should be done legally. But at some point, it's government responsibility to make sure that they are also encouraging startup entrepreneurs, right? So if they create so much hurdles, they are actually doing a disservice to the country. That would be my two opinions.
I won't agree with that at all. I have a different opinion. In the name of startups, a lot of scams have happened, and a lot of people have done things that they're not supposed to do. And therefore, banks, aggregators, everybody.
Exactly my point. See, it's just scams are happening despite putting all these restrictions. So you need, like, at some level, the government needs to understand, like, okay, we have put in this many restrictions, right? I'm not against allowing, to make sure that scams don't happen. I'm just worried: is the government taking the best approach possible to do that?
Well, I think yes. Documents that are required for opening a current account is the same documents that are required for giving a payment gateway. Right. When you have the ease of doing business in terms of registering your company, as long as you have a reasonably good CA sitting with you, your CA should be able to help you sort out registering your company yourself. There are, of course, companies who take advantage of young entrepreneurs, and that's why I was saying that you have to have some experience. So there are companies that say, to get a company formed and to get it registered and to get you your PAN and GST, I will charge you 55,000.
Right.
Kitna hai government fees utna hai hi nahi, right? It's not that the government has made it difficult for people to do business. I don't think so. You just need to read a little more before doing any of the registrations. I think that is all it is.
Right.
I'm not being headstrong when I'm saying this. But I think that just a little more education of reading by yourself. You don't have to go to classes for this. See, 2015 also, you didn't have Google as much information as you have today. So there's every information that you want is readily, easily available. Just have to take 10 minutes extra, read, and then work on it.
Right. So wrapping up, Alka, what are some of the goals or milestones you have achieved so far working with PayAid, and what does the future hold for the company?
Well, quite a few successes. As a startup, we've succeeded to survive for almost 3 years. I think that's a big thing. 3 years is when most startups fail or have problems. Irrespective of whatever happened, whether we had money, we took loans, or we, put jewelry in a pawn shop, employees of PayAid got their salary on the 1st of every month, no matter what. Come what may. That's something that I'm extremely proud of. My co-founder, Fanny, is also extremely, proud of.
I agree. That's sometimes a really big challenge. I faced it, similar situation in my entrepreneurial journey. Yeah. Trust me, it's no easy feat what you guys have achieved so far.
Thank you. Some of the awards that we won is, Indian Achievers Award. There's another award that we got from the Indian Institution of Women Entrepreneurs. What else? Quite a few awards we got, actually. One award that I'm extremely fond of, proud of, is the Andhra Pradesh Government FinTech Challenge Winner Award. Not only did we win a cash prize, we also won a chance to work with the Andhra Pradesh government for their next set of fintech issues or challenges that they have. In November, I won an award from She the People Digital Award for leadership. So we have a few awards that we have won. What do I want to do going forward? What's my future for what have I envisioned for PayAid? Well, I hope to be able to reach out to more customers. We have a very handful of 500 customers as of now. I want to grow that at least 50,000 customers at the end of next financial year. I also do understand that the kind of payment infrastructure that we have in India today is not available in some of our neighboring countries. So I would like to expand there. I do believe that I would be able to, add some value to their payment ecosystem. We're trying to partner with cooperative banks. We're trying to sign up web developer companies. as channel partners to increase our leads. We will be going live with Zoho Marketplace sometime mid of next week, hopefully, fingers crossed. So this is what I have, for any company that wants to come and invest in us. Well, my exit strategy for them is help us become as big as an Adyen, or at least somebody, I don't know, getting as big as an Adyen is very, very huge dream. But getting to be as big as a company that Adyen sits up and takes note, at least that we should be good enough for any company that invests in us.
Wow. What an incredible journey, Alka. Thanks a lot for sharing your insights and experiences with us. And thanks to our listeners as well. Thanks for joining on another episode of Yes Users. Until next time, keep listening to your users and keep dreaming big. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Avi, for having me over. Have a wonderful day.